Podcasting since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts Radio Network. KingofPodcasts.com.
Eric Bischoff used to hotshot book for ratings. Triple H does it for pops.
Woo! Hey, this is the Nate, your boy Rick Flair. And believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it. Because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence. The King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
We have Full Gear coming up this weekend. Next weekend is Survivor Series. I'm not necessarily over the moon on either one of them coming up. I'm actually more excited about an event that's coming up tomorrow as I record this program. That happens to be MLW and their Don Gatto event. Believe it or not. But I want to bring that up real quick. I'll bring MLW news up real quick. I think that should be something we should talk about real quick. That has been reported today. I'm taking this from WrestlingNews.co. MLW Major League Wrestling has officially announced they're moving their league headquarters from New York to Charleston, South Carolina. And Court Bauer, MLW CEO, explained it that Charleston's just not hosting Major League Wrestling anymore. It's home. And the move will bring production, creative, and live event jobs to Charleston. So their home base is going to be Charleston, South Carolina. A Southern promotion. Interesting. And the first event that will take place after this announcement is the MLW and Don Gatto Tequila Live special. That is on Thursday on YouTube. And what a card for the live special. You have at the top of the card the MLW World Heavyweight Championship and a bunkhouse match. Old school WCW NWA stuff. Mads Kruger, the champion, taking on Brock Anderson, accompanied by his father, Arn Anderson. That sounds great. Mystico versus Volador Jr. in the finals of the 2025 Opera Cup. The Skyscrapers, that is Donovan Dijak and Bishop Dyer, the former Baron Corbin. They are the Skyscrapers, and they will take on the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. That should be a fun match. Good big guys match for sure. The Middleweight Championship will have Templario defending his title against Guerrero Maya Jr. Killer Cross returns. He will have a match against Matt Riddle, and Scarlett Bordeaux will be by his side, accompanying him. Shotzi versus Priscilla Kelly, the former Gigi Dolan, in a singles match. You have a Gatos Gauntlet match, four-way trios match, Los Panthers versus Los Felinos versus Los Atlantes versus El Galeon Fantasma. It's all CMLL types, I'm sure. And a Lightning three-way match with Diego Hill, Okamura, and Stigma. But there's a lot of matches on that card that sound pretty good. Pretty fresh. And some other stars that, were NXT, left NXT, like go from NXT, or former WWE stars making their way in. And look, how many of these stars we have in here that are like the big rock star free agents that you would expect, like a TNA would pick up or an AEW would pick up? MLW, they've done a pretty good job with Shotzi, bringing her into the promotion like they did before. Killer Cross wasn't here long enough for a run here in MLW to really make a difference. He was more of in TNA and other promotions before he got over to here. But he never had a long run in MLW, but I think he'll do great here. And this is the TV promotion I really enjoy. Among all of them, it's just like where ECW was going back to the late 90s. And I am really at that point now in how I feel with wrestling right now. We're back to that again. And it used to be we had good stuff going on in the 90s in the Monday Night Wars, but no one ever talks about the fact that, okay, at the end of the day, if you had an allegiance to WCW or WWF, I was still, at the end of the day, if you had to give me a choice of who I would watch and I would be pretty happy with, was ECW. The original ECW, not the WWE version. We're talking about the 1995 to 2001 version of ECW that Paul Heyman ran after he took over from Todd Gordon, took Eastern Championship Wrestling, making it Extreme Championship Wrestling. That is the one I watched. 4 pay-per-views a month. That's the show I used to watch. And preferably before the TNN era. Before it got on national television. I thought that ECW was fantastic. I loved it. Those were great pay-per-views. Those were great shows. To the fact that I was willing to go ahead and make sure I got my VCR set at 2 a.m. to watch on Sunshine Network to catch it on a regular basis. But then we look at the other sides of the coin, the major promotions in front of us. And I don't want to be a part of the fandom that is throwing barbs at one or the other. If I was going to choose, AEW still gets my attention because I get storylines there. There are some characters I really enjoy over there. But what is happening over there is the same thing goes with WWE because the bookers, okay? I'll put it to you like this. If we had to go and compare Tony Khan versus Triple H, Triple H with the regalry of people that he has underneath his oversight, Paul Heyman, Bruce Pritchard, whoever else, Road Dogg, okay, Michael P.S. Hayes, it's just not working. We're not getting storylines at all. They choose not to do it. It's so old school, it's old school. But not in a good way. Because, I mean, to try to build some kind of heat, you're basically using what was used when Vince McMahon was still running the show. These people do not want to go ahead and create storylines. They do not want to make something that might be make-believe for fear that they have to actually book the show around it and they might screw it up. So they rather keep it where the wrestlers are basing it on something realistic. And I don't know if that's to play to the behest of the TKO brass. I don't know why. And as for TKO, they're not worried so much about the TV money because it's locked in. Okay? They'll worry about that when the contract starts to run out. Then they'll figure a way to get that back up and renegotiate it or go somewhere else with it, whatever they want. But no matter what, they think that what they're doing in the arenas is what really is the attention getter for WWE right now. They actually think that what they're doing in the arenas is really going to stir attention. Let me put it to you like this. So they did say Netflix numbers came out and the global audience reached 2.8 million viewers worldwide. Remember, it was at 5 million global, which still sounds like a low number to me if we were catching people watching highlights from what was going on Raw if they didn't catch the live show. Now, given it's the Madison Square Garden, given the fact that it's the week before Survivor Series, John Cena's final return to Madison Square Garden, and they had a couple of title matches also on the card. A lot of things going on, and throughout the night, a lot of surprises. Last Time Is Now tournament to determine John Cena's final opponent at Saturday Night's Main Event. They're going through that, and they brought in a couple of stars. All of a sudden, we're bringing a couple of stars back for a one-off. We're not going to bring back Matt Cardona, who has been running the Indies right now as Matt Cardona. No, we're going to bring him in as his original persona, Zack Ryder. Long Island. I mean, I'm sure the money's fine. I'm sure Matt Cardona has no problem going out there, going woot woot. Fine, go for it. So he goes out there, reprises his character of Zack Ryder. Dolph Ziggler comes out to his old school. Doesn't come out as Nick Nemeth, who he's been running in TNA for right now. Has been world champion there. Has been world tag team champion there. He's been doing just fine. So let's get him back as Dolph Ziggler. Right? Let them move along into the tournament. Of course, not to go ahead and win, but let's get him in here just to go ahead and do a little enhancement for the folks. No, let's not let the older talent that we have right now do this for us. Let's not do that. We're going to go ahead and do this tournament. We don't want to go ahead and put anything about that at all. No, we don't want to do that. When you look at the brackets, I mean, I haven't even paid attention to the Last Time Is Now tournament, honestly. So we get through into the second round. Sheamus against Rusev in the next round bracket. Jey Uso and LA Knight. And LA Knight beat Zack Ryder for whatever reason. Gunther beats Javon Evans. And, I don't see any of these folks that really makes me think about, these are the folks they wanted to go and decide to use to take on John Cena, possibly, that they could be booked into the tournament to become Cena's last opponent. and I guess go after the Intercontinental title. And who's still left to go ahead and wrestle? There's Carmelo Hayes and Bronson Reed, Finn Balor and Penta, Solo Sikoa and Dolph Ziggler. I'm just saying, oh, okay, fine. Oh, I'm sorry, Solo Sikoa winning. Excuse me. So you got that going as well. Now, either which way, the tournament means nothing. I don't think it really matters who John Cena takes on. Okay, Gunther's there. Let's just expect him to be the one that has to be the one that will do the work with John Cena. And if John Cena decides to go ahead and take the loss, per tradition, Gunther gets the win. Okay, I could care less. It's fine. And at this point, I still believe that would be where we should be, with Gunther being the one that gets over after the tournament's done to build him back up into another world title match. They could be where CM Punk and Gunther take on each other. Fine. And some people got onto me about the idea of me saying Dominik Mysterio should go ahead and already move forward into being in the World Heavyweight title picture. Well, somebody disagreed with me. Okay, they said too early for that. That's from Marco Ramirez 85. And, well, quadruple MXSLSS, MXLS, well, I guess, I don't know. Says Dom can't sell the move to save his life. Well, but he's playing the heel. He doesn't have to play the face. When does he do that? So now, Triple H doesn't want to go ahead and do any particular booking. He has that to go ahead and fill up TV time, this tournament. Then you have these title matches to try to bring some pop. And then it's, of course, Survivor Series. We need to find out who the final participants are going to be. And all of a sudden you get Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns returning. And then you did some shock changes to the women's titles, where you have Jade Cargill now as the women's champion, and Maxine Dupree becomes a champion on the secondary side with the United States title. No, the Intercontinental title. Yeah. Either which way. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The titles don't matter. The same people at the top, stagnation, and no storylines to speak of. So I'm numb to what WWE's been doing since the Netflix era. This whole year I've been numb to them. I've watched the pay-per-views. I've caught up on the clips of the TV shows at a time when I used to not do that. I used to actually watch the shows. At least, even during the bad parts from 2019, 2018 going on, I would have it on in the background. But now I don't even bother doing that anymore. It's not like I'm going to go ahead and go out of my way to go and find the Netflix feed and go watch it, because I don't feel like I'm watching anything. Because it's all matches. Triple H only wants to go worry about the matches. And that's fine. But when there's nothing to it, there is a predetermined finish, then we need a reason to understand why you went to that finish and what it means after that finish. It's a soap opera. It's what it's supposed to be. In AEW's case, Tony Khan is a different story. I mean, he's getting to book wrestlers the way he wants. Okay, he has the money. He has the talent. He is booking his own show. He's booking to his own taste. He might be taking input from others, sure, but it's the way he wants to book it. He wants this feud with this feud, and then how are we going to get there? That's the storylines we get, is we'll get storylines where, how are we going to get there? The one thing I will say is that we at least have characters in AEW. Okay, at least we have that. At least we have good promos that come out that are built around a lot of things, because then you have a little more opportunities for talent to get over and do things with the characters that they have that they want to build out. If they want to go and go crazy with it, they can. And I can appreciate that. So I want to go into that example real quick by playing at least one promo that I got that was on Collision. So I wouldn't have caught it because it was on a Saturday. I'm watching college football. It's just not going to work. But catching on Collision this past Saturday and Toni Storm and enjoying how she put herself together just for the match in the tag team tournament with Minister Carla and Toni Storm.
5 women made me watch a mugging, a massacre, a murder. Now, you can do what you like to me. Tony Storm lives and dies every damn day. But when you touch the woman I love, a woman who brings color to a world that is black and white, then you gain admission to a film, a cinema verite. It stars 5 shit-ass slop tarts and 2 horror show whores with a lust for vengeance who will love bomb the crap out of you. And since it's your turn to watch, we promise to look good when we do it. Anytime, any place, the show must go on. Don't ask God for mercy. He's a big fan of our work.
Listen, to me, Tony Storm still embodies one thing. If we don't have MJF out there, give me Tony Storm. She embodies what I want in wrestling. Okay. She's very good in the ring. Good with a lot of ways that you put her in, whether it's with a belt or without. The character is sound. It has gone on for more than 2 years, right? And it continues to go. The Mina Shirakawa character coming into this, the love triangle, it's been wonderful. And, whatever you put her in, encompassing the women's division, she's been the most interesting thing in the women's division. Yes, Mercedes Moné has the belts, and that's the other focus. But to me, Chris Statlander and Mercedes Moné as champions doesn't take away from what Tony Storm does. Because Tony Storm is elevating everybody when she does it. She's doing what MJF would do on the men's side if he were out there right now. But you know what? He's gotten popular. He's doing projects. He's in and out as needed. And that's the kind of wrestling characters I want. That's what I expect from the main rosters of both WWE and AEW. And then we get into the matches that we have right now that are going to be set up for Full Gear, and I'm like, it's fine, but it is a little indie-rific because we're not moving forward with some of the characters we had. Listen, now that you took away the whole EVP thing from Matthew and Nick Jackson, Young Bucks, they're back to Young Bucks. It's kind of like a throwback to now, okay, we're still kind of following along with the story of them where they're broke on the EVP story. After that, the follow-up to that hasn't been too interesting to me. I'll just say it like that. Blood and Guts, fine. I know there are some people out there. I'm gonna go to a comment that was put out there from someone of my one of the real disciples of the juvenile delusional fandom out there. Okay, that's become the new phrase for me. So of course the Fanatics, right? There is a disciple among them that is going to preach his gospel the way he sees fit, the way that wrestling's supposed to be, which is what I don't agree with at all. And that's fine. But I want characters. I want storylines. And I feel like if MJF is going to be in a storyline, listen, when we look at what Tony Storm and MJF have done, they make the most out of what they've had. Look, people shit on MJF when he went after Jeff Jarrett. I didn't think it was the best thing in the world, but man, I got into it because there was a lot there. And MJF, given the chance to work with Jeff Jarrett, a veteran like that, okay, that works for me. The Mercedes Moné storyline, okay, her with the belts, and Mercedes Moné eating steak, and dinners as Tony Storm wrestles, and all that part wasn't the, you would think that, oh wow, what a great storyline, but I was like, it's fine. But the story was good, the match was good. I don't have a problem with that. But at least those two are indicative of what we have. But then in the AEW end we have here, we're looking at, okay, Statlander Moné, women's world title is on the line. So another belt for Mercedes Moné to collect. And that's just a bigger build for all the other stuff that she's doing worldwide and all these other promotions she's working at. Samoa Joe, Hangman Adam Page in a steel cage match for the world title. By the way, I expect Moné to win. She'll have her 13th belt. I think Samoa Joe becomes champion again in the steel cage match. I believe that'll happen. I think the ops are going to help out. something's going to go on with that. I see it coming. Brodito in a tag team match, defending the World Tag Team titles against FTR. And FTR expect to go and win this time around. They'll take the belts back. Because I don't know. They need to be doing something. Like FTR is always kind of attacking people, but it's like, okay, let's get somewhere. Like FTR being the heels here, they need to be doing something to make themselves okay, that they're doing something with themselves, that they're productive, that they're not just all talk here. They just can't be like heels that don't get anywhere. Like we need somebody to go and boo at. Let's get back to them doing it. Fine. Kenny Omega, Jurassic Express in the $1 Million Trios match. So Kenny Omega has nothing to do right now necessarily. Just pair him in here to go after the Elite. Fine. And then Young Bucks, like I said, I'm not digging too much about their deal. It's not that much interesting to me after the whole deal of them being EVPs and how they were being used. The follow-up after that has not worked for me. Let's put it just like that. And then the TNT title will be Kyle Fletcher and Mark Briscoe. A good match, like a good matchup, but, and Kyle Fletcher, I think, giving him a lot of different folks to go after to build him up to that eventual world title is an interesting story to me. His climb is very important. Darby Allin and Pac, they've been building that up a lot. And Pac with the whole deal with the Death Riders, that's been very important. So that's a storyline they're getting into, and I can appreciate that. At least we have something there where there's a lot of heat going into that match. That's fine with me. I can go. I'm all digging about that. And then you have a 4-way tag team match for the inaugural women's tag team title. Have not paid attention to the tournament much. The Babes of Wrath with Harley Cameron, Willow Nightingale, Sisters of Sin, Julia Hart, Sky Blue, Timeless Love Bombs, Mina Shirakawa, and Timeless Tony Storm, and Marina Shafir and Megan Bayne. Fine tag teams. Okay. Fine setup. Do I care much about the tournament? No. Do we need extra belts? Not necessarily, but okay. They're going to do it anyway. It's time, Phil. You want something extra for Collision and Dynamite? Okay, go right ahead. And then John Moxley and Kyle O'Reilly and a no-holds-barred match. I have not paid attention to much of this, but I know it's whatever. Death Riders are part of this. I think it's just depending on who they are facing that matters to me. And with John Moxley already having to go ahead and already went through the things that he did with Darby Allin in the last pay-per-view, I was like, okay, what are we going to do more with the Death Riders? I don't know, but we're going to leave it like that. Okay. And then so far, Casino Gauntlet for the AW National Championship, another championship we don't need, but they're going to go with it anyway. And so far, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, Ricochet, Kevin Knight, and Speedball Mike Bailey are all entrants into the match. They'll probably put some surprises in there. We'll see what goes on. Again, a couple of matches I'm actually interested in. And that's it. But they're not necessarily giving me anything that is blowing me away. It's like, it's fine. Like the matches are going to be very good. They're going to do a lot with it. There are some storylines tied into all this. At least it's something. Like I'll take little storyline over no storyline. And I'll take something where we at least get some change around in the talent. Okay, to see Seth Rollins there year round. Seth Rollins, CM Punk, Jey Uso, LA Knight, Cody Rhodes. It's the same cast of characters over and over. We're going to go and just put the Vision into Survivor Series. No, let's not put them in any tournament where they get over on John Cena. No, we're not going to do anything like that. Braun Breaker, we're not going to do anything with them right now. They don't want to do anything. No, they don't want to do that. Dominik Mysterio, you have him, lose to Cena for the IC title. So he's not being looked at either. Again, it's the thought process of like, well, we're going to build guys up by letting them continue to be beat and losing things. It's whatever it is. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But that's on both sides here. It's like the whole setup of both of these major promotions. Again, we're at the end of the year. And once again, I'm disappointed on both sides, which is why I said I feel like there's more going on with MLW than it is with these two promotions, believe it or not, when I just look at it. And when I look at what I have here on the Major League Wrestling side, when I said, Mads Kruger, what a character they built out to become after all these years from Contra Unit. they've done a lot with Brock Anderson to go and build him up. Skyscrapers have had a lot of time out there, and then just what they're going to do with other stars they have in here. And again, they're limited time because they're not on a regular TV broadcast. It's these YouTube shows, but the way they use them and how they put matches up together that are going to lead up to something later on is good stuff, and I can enjoy that. Now, let me get into what I have on. Let me first of all go to what was being commented out there from the disciple of the juvenile delusional fandom out there. I should go ahead and speak from him first, because Monday Night Raw, everybody's praising right now because of all the returns, the title changes, the suspense, the excitement of things that went on. So there was a lot of stuff that happened on the show. This Madison Square Garden show was probably more exciting or entertaining or more compelling than any pay-per-view they've had all year. I don't know if WrestleMania lived up to what Madison Square Garden got on Monday night, or SummerSlam, or Money in the Bank, or I don't know. I don't know if any of the pay-per-views this year, besides Elimination Chamber, that really gave me a pause and said, wow, this was something special. Because that's what it is. That's what Madison Square Garden was. Now, let me take this from the disciple of the juvenile delusional fandom here. He says that the returns of Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns to the War Games matches. I mean, there's no value to the War Games matches at all. Now, he makes the point here about the fact that we don't need to have this here just because it lands in the same time of year. The same problem that Vince McMahon had where Hell in a Cell is coming up, so we have to go and build something to a Hell in a Cell match. Or Money in the Bank, same thing goes there. I got it. I mean, I can understand the argument of that where, yeah, we don't want with so many more pay-per-views where it's always the same thing that happens every year. And TKO is trying to go and do away with some of the predictability. And I think that's something where when I have given myself more time to think about why TKO is going out there and Mark Shapiro saying that we don't always be doing what Vince McMahon did, is because they need to make the WWE something that is going to be a year-round product, because we know that WrestleMania season has always been a season. They need to do something more so that there are events all year round that will draw. Because if it's WrestleMania, they can't just do that. They want SummerSlam, they want others to be 2-night events. And so if they could do something where they have major events that are quarterly, because that will go alongside and align with their shareholders, with their earnings calls every quarter. They want to be able to do that. So start of the year, first quarter earnings will always have Royal Rumble, and to lead up to WrestleMania. WrestleMania will be in the second earnings call of the second quarter of the year. Then you get the SummerSlam. What's that last quarter going to be? Well, since Survivor Series is whatever it is, they can't let the fourth quarter of the year take a dive because it normally does. What TKO wants is that, well, we need to do something more to build out more to it. So their idea is, let's get this Madison Square Garden show, 18,000 plus. Let's pack it to the gills, put a lot of things on it. And then let's go and build things up towards the John Cena final match and Survivor Series. Bring all these folks back, bring back Brock and Roman, and, do something more with it. Madison Square Garden show was all hands on deck. What they have available. Without necessarily going after legends or anybody else. What WWE provided to the Madison Square Garden crowd was all hands on deck. Everybody that they have. Every punch they could pull. That was all there. Now, back to the commentary here. I mean this wholeheartedly as a pro wrestling fan because I want better. And right now, we're not really getting better. The Women's War Games doesn't really need to happen. I'm tired of the narrative, we need to have two. He says the Men's War Games has been building since the Raw after WrestleMania. Or if you even want to go back to WrestleMania, it's been building since then and before WrestleMania. So yes, the Men's War Games match is very much needed. It's the finality of what we've seen play out on television for the last 7 months. And then he goes on about the women's match, and he says, Triple H is treating the War Games match as an every November thing. Here we are. instead of legitimately building something up where it warrants the match taking place, like he did with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, how long before that did we see Hell in a Cell? We got Hell in a Cell back and got those two guys in there. No shenanigans, no fun and games, no bullshit, no escaping the cage because the cage is supposed to keep everything contained within. We got blood and the feud mattered, and a Hell in a Cell was warranted for the feud because of what happened throughout the entire year. One match, two match, third match. The final match happened there and it ended the feud. And it was over a bracelet like the AEW sickos seem to think. No, the feud was not built over an effing bracelet. Okay, sorry that your guy, he means Tony Khan, can't tell consistent stories. And we got 2 money matches of Full Gear now. By the way, one for $1 million and one for $200,000. Man. Okay. And then he talks about the men's war games. Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, the Usos, Roman Reigns. It's a great team. That's an all-star team. Stars. That's something that Men's Blood and Guts didn't have. On the other side, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, Drew McIntyre, Brock Lesnar. Stars. Also, the men's war games and the men's blood and guts match didn't have stars. Got it. So leading into Survivor Series, let's go with what he's saying here about the star power that they have. Well, there's star power, but then there's also what you're doing with the star power. You're living off the legacy of what was done before, what Vince McMahon put out there. So what are we getting more of that? That matters. At the moment, we have the Survivor Series match for the men's War Games. It's CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and the Usos, and Roman Reigns. We're not getting much different than what last year's Survivor Series was. Okay, so if you want to go back to last year's Survivor Series and say there was some storyline we got off of that, okay, so these are the same guys that have been facing off from the last year. Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed. There's no Seth Rollins in this, but that would also make sense if they could. Logan Paul being dropped into the mix because he wants to go after the World Heavyweight title. And he's had his own, really hasn't any other issues with anybody else necessarily. I mean, well, that's with CM Punk right now. And that's why he's dropped into this as part of the vision. Drew McIntyre, also because he's had his issues with Cody Rhodes after going to the Universal title or the WWE Championship. And then again, Bloodline against Vision, I guess. And Roman Reigns has been out there in a while. I don't know if I really care about that much. The Women's War Games match? No, I don't really care. I don't know if they even bring it up. But then you look at the Intercontinental title match, a rematch for Dominik Mysterio to go after John Cena. They got that set up. And then Stephanie Vaquera and Nikki Bella for the Women's World title. That's all you got. 4 matches? Is that right? 4 matches we're going to have for this? That's a big stadium crowd they got in San Diego for this too, Petco Park. That's all we're getting? Survivor Series, I'm surprised it's so small. 4 matches. That's really crazy. Okay. That's what they got. So those Survivor Series matches, they're going to probably be super long. The War Games are going to probably be like an hour each. But you're telling me that the build up for that, okay, Brock Lesnar just came back, and he has a history with others. That's all you're living off is history. All the men's War Games matches off of history. The only recent history you have is the Vision after CM Punk. That's it. And that's like some kind of retcon because of everything going on with Seth Rollins, where he's not out there going after CM Punk. Because that's what they probably will be doing by this point now. Because I don't know if Logan Paul will be in this match in the first place. Or Brock Lesnar for that matter. I don't know. But it doesn't really make any difference. Like, I mean, I don't see the benefit of... These all have been stars and up there. I mean, except for the Vision, everybody else has all been up there. Those are all, except for Jimmy, all former world champions. And they've all had some kind of facing off each other, in some way, shape, or form. I don't get the whole mindset, the whole logic behind saying, that we got stories here. Yeah, stories that were told by Vince McMahon. Might have started off with Vince McMahon for that matter. What has Triple H done that's necessarily been storyline? Besides the bloodline, which I don't think he had anything to do with. I think it was Paul Heyman that did that. But what do we have now? There's no heat to these matches. Oh, you want to talk about with Rhea Ripley and Kabuki Warriors or Becky Lynch with, like, okay, whatever. Just nothing here. This is very bland. And there's nothing that happens. The repercussions, does anybody get over more than they are as a result of any of these matches here? I expect Stephanie Vaquer to win and retain over Nikki Bella. I don't think John Cena is going to drop the belt to Dominik Mysterio going into his last match. I don't expect that. And the women's War Games or the men's War Games match, pick them. It doesn't make a difference to me. I don't see any benefit to what happens here. This is like bragging rights. Believe it or not. These War Games matches are bragging rights. I don't even know if we're even doing Raw versus SmackDown on this either, because I don't think it matters either. It doesn't really matter. You brought the talent together, and there's just nothing to it. So dare I say, AEW has a couple of matches that might be more important to me because there's something more to the build of some of the stars they have over there. If you maybe compare the pay-per-views, I'm just telling you, AEW has a much more favorable, much more enticing card. If you ask me which one I'm going to go spend money on, I would go to the AEW show. But if you had to make me choose between AEW or WWE or MLW, I would pick MLW. That's where I'm at right now. And I've always had an affinity for MLW, but now it's like, okay, well, that's probably the better choice of the three. What's kind of interesting right now is NWA is actually kind of interesting. They have new tapings right now. Billy Solis Mason just became the new World Heavyweight Champion. Awesome. Didn't know he was already being built up to that level, but to think he was out there with the valet, and I forget her name, his or her name, whatever, and the build up for him, because after it was all said and done, he became national champion and worked his way up, and they built him up to be world champion. Awesome. A fresh new champion with, a lot of upside to him. I like it. That's good stuff. But like I said, if I look on the other side, on the AEW side, okay, I'm not much into saying, okay, where Adam Page, Samoa Joe, I feel like, well, okay, Samoa Joe's back in the same places he was before. Statlander and Monet, that's fine. It's, it'll probably be fine, but they've had some storyline that went with it. It has some storyline that has gone along with the women's tag team title tournament. Yeah. And there is a storyline with the trios match for the $1 million. There's a storyline with it. Is it great? No, but it's just a storyline with it. That's what I want. Give me wrestling with storylines. That's what I want. Give me that. I'd be much more interested in that if I could have that. Some of the commentary I've had out there for some of the clips I put out there. Let me go to my TikTok feed where Aaron Campbell says, I honestly don't think it's Triple H. I just think he's the face that catches all the behind the scenes crap from TKO. A lot of the issues of the TKO group, and they've been using WWE to make up their debt. Notice we don't hear much from UFC, which they also owe. Yeah, but UFC's already got a new deal with Paramount. They're set up going to do shows in Saudi Arabia and all. Like, they're making their money back. The debt's going to be cleared. If they don't have it cleared out on the right way, they're going to probably, take care of the books to make it look like as such. For WWE, they're their own entity within TKO. They have to be able to deliver just as much as UFC does. Because UFC right now is still pulling more money than WWE is. Keep that in mind. It's just that WWE did not have any debt. That's one thing that should be said about that too. Leon, what if Triple H is not to blame, but maybe TKO? It could be because they want to make the call, and Triple H has to do what they tell him. But I don't know. That's just me speculating. Now, TKO doesn't worry about that part. Listen, what they're doing right now when it comes to WrestlePalooza and building that up along with SummerSlam, that was to make sure the third quarter had money coming in. And now with Survivor Series and John Cena's, last match, they're trying to go ahead and monetize those like they can, because the revenue they're going to make off those gates and the merchandise is what's important to them. The TV they're not worried about that because they locked those TV deals in. And they're not worried so much about the ratings. Like the loyal following that is out there, SmackDown got themselves back up after Halloween. And, they're pulling 1.1 million viewers right now. The odd thing is they're going to go back to 3 hours again on SmackDown. You know why? Because USA wants the extra ad revenue. And TKO is willing to oblige to make that partner happy. So keep that in mind. All right, so I made my comments about the disciple of the delusional fandom. That's done. Now let me get into what I got in here on X that I've been pulling out some of these bookmarks that I've taken. Because we got to talk about Tony Khan real quick. He was on the Ariel Helwani show this week. So there's a few things to bring about that. Do I want to bring up anything here before about the Raw that's going up? Oh, here's the thing out. Las Vegas is going to be paying $6 million to host WrestleMania 42 the entire week. That's the 2 nights of WrestleMania 42, the SmackDown before, the Raw after, NXT Stand and Deliver, the Hall of Fame ceremony, and WWE World. So Las Vegas is actually going to help prop up WrestleMania because they're going to be showing up for a whole week there to do the thing in the second week of April next year. Interesting. Good on them. That's the kind of money they want. That's the kind of relationships they want as well. There was some comments being said about the fact that Jey Uso beat The Miz in the first round of the Last Time Is Now tournament. And he says here, the Yeet merchant Jey Uso had zero history with John Cena, yet he goes over the one man who deserved a singles match with Cena during his farewell run. Now that same guy gets knocked out of the tournament by someone with a theme song built on Yeet. Yeah, The Miz had quite a history with John Cena and does not get a match with him in the farewell. He's absolutely right about that. I mean, look, we know that Edge and Randy Orton had, very great feuds with him throughout the years. The Miz did as well, several times. When The Miz did hold the world title, right? After Money in the Bank, the cash in. Him with Alex Riley. Wasn't he around with Alex Riley right at that time? And then The Miz, when he was doing the whole deal in the mixed tag match with his wife Maurice against John and Nikki Bella. And that whole storyline with the reality show that I played back a couple of months ago, which was hilarious. Yeah, and there's an actual history with them. But yeah, they didn't want to put The Miz in here. But I guess The Miz, doesn't matter right now. He's company line, man. He will toe the company line, and whatever he is told, he does it. He's smart for the business for himself. Make that clear. Another person says Chelsea is the United States champion. Maxine is the Intercontinental champion on the women's sides of those secondary titles. They don't care about straps right now. And like I said, Chelsea Green won the women's United States title over Julia, whatever. And Maxine winning. Those belts don't matter to me either. But for Maxine Dupree, good on her. I'm glad she's doing it. She's been working her butt off, so good for her. I can appreciate that. And then looking back at Monday Night Raw and how they do things, it's about the pop. Was there any real reason for Brock Lesnar and CM Punk to confront each other? Not necessarily, but here's what we got when he did come out to the ring. Hey, like clapping seals, Madison Square Garden, pop big.
The bodies are falling now.
CM Punk is sitting. No, this can't be. The Beast Incarnate is in New York. Brock Lesnar.
And, that's all set up. But then, of course, Roman Reigns comes after that. And again, it's this good feeling of like, oh, look, these people are all coming back. It's kind of a feel what they did for Madison Square Garden to bring all those Survivor Series members of the World War Games match out. It was almost like they were trying to replicate the same thing they got that happened absolutely great when Cody Rhodes won the WWE Championship, the Undisputed Championship over Roman Reigns. It's like that. It's like, oh, look, another pop. And then the big, reveal out there. That's what they wanted. They were happy to give that. Oh, there was another part where Stevie Richards, who's does a lot of work on Vince Russo's brand channel, right? He made a claim that Logan Paul's better than anybody else in AEW. Kyle Fletcher took offense to that and responds saying, quote, I think I said the same thing with his comments on me. I think a lot of these things are done with the thought process. Oh, this will get a reaction. Oh, this will get clicks. I don't know if he believes this wholeheartedly. If he does, like I said, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I think that opinion is bullshit personally. I think the roster we have at AEW, the matches you see on a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly basis, I am astounded. Like, I can't even keep up. I watch match and I go, that's the best match I've ever seen this year. And then the next week, I'll see another match, and I think it's the best match this year. It's an absolutely absurd claim to make. No hate on Logan Paul doing great stuff. Good for you. He's been in the business 5 years, if that. So the level he's performing at is insane. Do I think he's better than Kenny Omega? Well, Ospreay, not a effing chance. He told it to Inside the Ring in TMZ. You know, I don't know if Stevie Richards really thinks that Logan Paul is about as good. I think Logan Paul, if he were in AEW, would be in that upper tier of main event. I could see that. I don't know how you'd use him, but look. Logan Paul's got his deal. I think personally, if they could use more of him out there, I know that would be something that a lot of people disagree with. But I think Logan Paul, overall, he's got a character to himself. This influencer thing, he's the one guy that has that down because he actually is. And I think the whole influencer deal and how he plays it up is a great foil. So I think him with CM Punk, after CM Punk wins the World Heavyweight title, was a great move. But now he's all tied in with Vision, and I was like, whatever. We don't even need that. I don't remember even Logan Paul ever having any alliance with anybody else. So him being aligned with a Vision, I hate it. And him being aligned alongside Paul Heyman, I hate it too. Let's make that clear as well. Logan Paul doesn't need that. But I do like the fact that him being involved, how he is in there. And then there's comments about people asking, was this what the Raw episode we had from Madison Square Garden, was that the best episode of WWE Raw in years? Who cares if it is or not? Again, the audience you brought in for that show is absolutely positively the only audience that's going to watch. You're not going to grow for that audience. Mark my words, Monday Night Raw is never going to crack 3 million viewers worldwide in their run on Netflix. I doubt it. I don't think it's possible. Now, getting back to Pops, Brock Lesnar, you just had him go out there and run roughshod. He's, piling up with Paul Heyman. And again, the Cody Rhodes world title win, when everybody all came out, the same thing happens again. Those hours after Brock Lesnar, let's get Roman Reigns out there.
War Games team.
He just cleared them all out. The Beast.
Of course, the copyright's up.
Just 12 days away, and he has a...
And in Triple H fashion, we're not done yet.
The OTC!
The thing is, for the crowd, this is wonderful. And I can understand why it's wonderful. For the TV audience, and Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns show up for a War Games match. They're not going after titles. They're just involved in a War Games match that nobody's even going to remember after this. The only way you remember it is that the juvenile delusional fandom continues to rail over the fact that, how great it was. Like, that's the only reason I even remember it. Not for the match itself, but for the kind of awestruck, overinflated enthusiasm over the product that is just flat and stagnant and not going anywhere. Because there are still some people out there that have not seen the light kind of take the cloud out of your eyes, get the cold out of your eye, as in the notorious B.I.G. song. So what is that song that's all ready to die? I forget what it's called. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
Bring down and damage to Roman Reigns. Oh, he's taking up security too.
And then somebody writes out saying that the ending sequence to John Cena's final match on Raw One of the most beautiful things I've ever watched.
Referee basically giving up control here.
Backbreaker. Oh, and now Ray's getting involved as well. Atomic.
A rare 6-man tag, by the way, because of the fact that this is a Madison Square Garden. How often does that happen, right? So John Cena doing the You Can't See Me along with Sheamus and Rey Mysterio. In unison, all three.
It's just too good. Triple it. 5 knuckle shuffles.
House show. House show loop. A different house show loop. This is a different house show altogether. And then we get Gunther coming back. Oh, he got back to his old theme. Crowd on his feet. Quiet. Because whatever they're doing with him before was doing so well. No, let's just change him back up. Let's just put him back in his old NXT stuff. That's what's going to make him work. Anyways. Oh, then of course, the other pop we have is for no necessary reason at all, because AJ Lee and CM Punk won the match at WrestlePalooza, but now Becky Lynch has to confront AJ Lee again.
Are you kidding me? This place is going to explode! AJ Lee!
Like, tell me that right there, all this is like overly giddy and excited. I mean, yes, I am the opposite opinion of many out there that are wrestling podcasters that are all going to go ahead and get in on this and be super excited. I'm not like a Twitch streamer out there. No. Mm-mm. But I get nothing out of all this here happening. And AJ Lee helping out with Maxine Dupree so that she wins a title. Okay, that's fine. So instead of paying attention to the real problem that's going on in WWE, where, okay, they did this one-shot booking night to try to build up for Madison Square Garden because they had a full house. They had to make sure those guys keep coming back because they also spent a whole lot of money to be there, especially for John Cena's last match on Raw and for all the other stuff that they did to set up the Survivor Series War Games match. So to the juvenile delusional fandom out there, oh, they're giddy. They're giddy. And of course, with Full Gear coming up, there's the publicity right now that Tony Khan and others are doing right now. So Tony Khan goes on Ariel Helwani. He answers questions. Let's go through a couple of comments that he made out there. And let's just see, what everybody's all stirred up about. Because obviously the disciple of the juvenile delusional fandom was all ripping apart because he has a personal animus towards Tony Khan for whatever access he never gave him, whatever. But Tony Khan had his thoughts on how he books and how he had certain things that were going on with AEW. Thought I'd pull a couple things that came out. Here we go.
That you can't go backwards, you can only go forwards, and you can only learn from the things you've done. So I'm very fortunate. I think about it all the time to still be in the chair because you can make a mistake, and if you make a series of mistakes and you go down a wrong path in pro wrestling, you can end up in a place that nobody comes back from. And look how many people in pro wrestling went down that door of making a mistake after mistake, and then they were gone. And sometimes it's not their fault. It's due to extenuating circumstances you can't control. But I'm fortunate that if I make a mistake, that I've always been able to go back and look at it or figure out what can we do to make the next show perfect or make sure I don't do that again, because I really think that course correcting, making sure that we are always on point for the next show is a really strong aspect of AEW. I think.
See, with Tony Khan, there is a shelf life of how long you can be booking. And I feel like for him, I know the billions of dollars that were spent that he has for AEW to be able to get and operate it as it is. Listen, it's a business that's operating well. It's making a profit. And, he's doing fine with the partnerships that he has right now with Warner Brothers, regardless of what people want to go and talk about that with some potential deal from Saudis or Paramount Skydance or whoever else that's going to try to buy Warner Brothers. Listen, we'll worry about that when we get to that moment. When the crossroads come to it, we'll talk about that then. But until then, they have a broadcast deal for another 2 years. Make that clear. But with Tony Khan, as a CEO of this company, I would have liked it if he would have pulled himself away from the everyday today booking and have it where he has a team that's handling it and some other creative help. But the thing is that he's never going to fire himself from being head of creative. Triple H can be replaced. Okay. And others that came before that were booking, Eric Bischoff was replaceable. Jeff Jarrett was replaceable. Okay. Because they weren't in charge. They were given authority, but Tony Khan is of the authority where it doesn't matter. I mean, he can make mistakes all he wants or do things right, but he's never replacing himself. He's very young in the business and his business acumen, and he's made a lot of good decisions with AEW when it comes to business. I can't deny that. And what he's done to satisfy his partners is a better job than what Triple H has done for TKO in the aspect. I mean, listen, for TKO, they're going to find a way to go and build shows of what they're going to do. But Triple H is doing what he can with his lack of ability to go ahead and book and do storytelling and do some real booking that's going to be, to book for the future. He can't do it. At least Tony Khan has a little more forward thinking than that. At least he has a little bit more to say, okay, he is willing to go and take some feedback, works with some other stars that can help with the creative ability of it, and hopefully find favor with him to be booked in something good. And he has his favorites as well, which is fine. Every booker does. But at least his favorites are kind of refreshing. I mean, it's not the same people over and over. Like in the area history of AEW, in the 6 years we've had this organization, there have been different people that have been at the very top of the card. And, there are still some that stay up there. John Moxley, Kenny Omega still up that way. And that's fine. But we see changes. Different people are champions over there. And there are new stars that come in that we start seeing to climb up. At the moment, it's Kyle Fletcher. And we'll see who else. Like, there's people have been around. It's like, there's at least something there. But again, for him to go ahead and figure out how to book at this point, 6 years into booking this and trying to do Ring of Honor as well, which I've always said was something that extra undertaking was too much to bear, because he's trying to go and do business and trying to get another broadcast deal for Ring of Honor to have its own TV network, right? And for those that think that TNA is going to go to AMC Network, I read that. John Alba reported it. I don't know how much to believe in that either. Okay, but TNA going to AMC Network makes no sense. AMC is not a big cable organization. Sure, the access to the AMC channel is great, but AMC, as far as I know, the parent company, they're not that big into sports. Okay, and I don't even know what you get from them in terms of streaming content, because AMC has their own streaming platform under a paywall. So what are we getting out of that for TNA? I don't think it makes much of a difference for people to go see AMC as the home of TNA. So that deal, that whatever Carlos Silva is saying right now, or anybody else talking about TNA, thinking that that's going to be the home, I don't believe it. I don't believe AMC, of all places, is going to pick them up. That doesn't make good business for AMC anyway. Because even if they spent the kind of money that AEW had, is getting from TBS and TNT, they're not getting that. That's just a real stretch to see that. Like every time everybody talked about, that some show's going to go to FX, they always kept talking about that. I don't believe that either. And it never happened. But, everybody wants to go and talk about what they're going to talk about. Whatever. Tony Khan should be oversight. And I don't think he's ever going to let himself let go of the reins like that to be possible. He, and Ariel Helwani, as the interviewer that he is, he's good at what he does. Don't get me wrong. I think he's one of the better interviewers out there of sports and of wrestling itself. And I thought it was an interesting question for him to go in confront Tony Khan about the CM Punk, Jack Perry backstage brawl and how he handled it. Well, I'm not going to play the clip, but the fact that in retrospect, Tony Khan thought, well, the ratings were good for it and he doesn't mind what he does. And Brian Alvarez talking on his Brian and Vinny podcast with Craig, I think, right? And he made some comments about Tony Khan and his booking acumen. And what Brian Alvarez says is kind of aligns with what I said.
Why does Tony book his national wrestling company like it's an indie show?
Because, listen, it's his money.
I understand.
And this is what he likes.
I understand.
It's just like this show. It's my show. I'll do whatever I want. He doesn't care. He likes matches.
That's a problem.
He likes wrestling matches. That's his favorite thing. And so he books wrestling matches. He thinks of a bunch of matches he wants to see. So he books backwards to do angles in matches.
Well, sometimes.
To set up other matches.
Sometimes he just throws matches out there.
Or he just throws matches out.
Yes.
He likes matches. He likes wrestling, and he likes belts.
But if he's the only
More power to the guy.
If he's the only one that cares about it, he's not going to sell tickets.
Who cares?
He doesn't care about that. He's booking the matches he wants to see.
That's a bad business plan.
Because here's the thing. He is booking for sickos like himself. The rest of you, fuck you.
And that's the other thing, too, that Tony Khan, as long as he's booking AEW, it'll be just like WWE is, where they will not build an audience outside that will cross over from the mainstream into this. What Vince McMahon, so with Vince McMahon to a point, allowing Vince Russo to do what he did, or what Eric Bischoff did, you did things where they were booking to try to cross over into the mainstream. And both of them did that. I mean, for any booker to be out there, you need to be booking outside the crossover to mainstream. Nothing's said much about this, but you know what? When I think about Paul Walter Hauser, that guy's going to get an Academy Award someday, man. I forget if he's gotten one yet, or he's been nominated at least. But that guy continues to get work. He is a very busy movie actor, and a damn good one at that, Paul Walter Hauser. And this guy, in his free time, does wrestling, and he wrestles in MLW. What? And he wrestles in other promotions, and he's become champion over there. Paul Walter Hauser. That's incredible. But that's somebody that's mainstream that, you know, that's a legitimate, you know, that's not like, okay, you know, bringing in some of these other stars that might be, you know, might not be so active in their career coming into AEW or WWE for that matter, right? But like, seriously, Paul Walter Hauser, active movie actor, got a good career going. And MLW has a chance to go and work with him in there. It's pretty good stuff. With MLW as well, I don't even bring this up enough. But then you have the entire Azteca Lucha portion of it. The old Temple Lucha Underground stuff with Selena de la Renta and Cesar Duran, and that whole involvement, which is the encompassing of the entire setup where you're getting Lucha Underground feel once again, which was storyline driven across the board and was really good. And to the credit, I think Joe Dombrowski does a pretty good job at his announcing. And whether it's Austin Aries or Filthy Tom Lawler, I think he does a very good job. I think he does really well. Another mention of MLW, Court Bauer doesn't pay me for this, but this is my personal opinion. I enjoy what they're doing on that product. Just saying that once again. So yes, Tony Khan is going to continue to go and book again. And why they call AEW fans sickos, whatever. But I think you're going to be limited to the amount of people that you have. And as a wrestling booker, you have to be thinking bigger than just the fan bases out there. Sure, there's a fan base out there that you can get. And of course, you can get 500, 600,000 viewers to watch Dynamite on a regular basis. And enough people to go pay for a sold out show at whatever stadium or whatever arena that you have for a pay-per-view. Absolutely. And you're getting buys, pay-per-view buys. That's, you know, as long as he's seeing that, he's getting revenue. But to grow it out, he's not worried about trying to grow this out to be something more than just, you know, anything more mainstream, I guess. Now, Tony Khan commented about what Matt and Jeff Hardy said to Ariel Helwani about the TNA partnership with WWE that is meant to be to hurt AEW as a promotion. And you think there's some truth to that. Jeff and Matt Hardy absolutely said it was. And I agree to a point with the Hardys about that too. I think that's absolutely a point of how they want to do that. But again, also narrow-minded and short-thinking. Why WWE, and that was the other part that I had earlier in the year, but now it's the point where it's not even so much, in a way we also got to look like this. In the course of the year, of course, we had the counter-programming of WWE, what they did. And now TNA being brought into this along with AAA is in a way trying to go ahead and put pressure on AEW. And Tony Khan talked about the counter programming of his events. So he talked about that with Ariel Helwani.
You know, something that I was really curious about, and I hadn't really heard you asked about this, so would love to hear your thoughts. It is very clear to me as an outsider that when you're putting on a big show, WWE tries to counter program it. How do you react when this happens? Do you think this is being done on purpose?
I do think it's done on purpose, and I understand it, and it's part of wrestling, and I think we've seen a lot of it, but I think other wrestling promotions that have been the challenger wrestling brand in our lifetime have seen a lot of it. Jim Crockett Promotions, which was the forerunner to WCW, saw a lot of this, and Jim Crockett Promotions ended up having to sell the company to Ted Turner, who then made a great run. It took a while. And really, if you look, Ted Turner took over at the start of 1989, and the strongest run came over 6 years later, almost 7 years later it started, really, when business peaked and took off their peak years. So it's interesting because as a challenger wrestling promotion, you've got a great opportunity, but it's really hard. It involves tons of investment to build up to be a true, strong challenger, and that's why we took the risk with AEW when we did. I do think that we've seen that kind of counter-programming and those things, and I understand, and looking back at wrestling history, kind of expect that. And
does it frustrate you?
I think it's okay because for us, it's always worked out and we're in a great position. So it hasn't ever been a thing where it's cost us anything. And even when you do something like AEW All in Texas, where we do the show in the afternoon, it really worked out for us great. And it was and
I agree with that. And it goes back to even what I said before when it comes to Tony Khan. When he had that counter programming, it didn't hurt him at all. He expected it. And that's fine. I mean, look, he says it himself. Because WCW went through the same thing. Jim Crockett Promotions went through the same thing. And, you know, the WWE, for its matter, I mean, and justifiably so, yeah, they want to make sure they keep their top spot. And also for the detriment of TKO, TKO wants to make sure that they are the holders of the number one wrestling promotion in the world. That matters to them. And there's so much difference between who is the top and everyone else at the bottom. Because AEW is still not at any certain level. I mean, we just look at the audience they have. 3 million viewers worldwide to what? To the American audience, is 600,000. If you want to build the worldwide audience, let's say what? 1.2, 1.5 million worldwide? I'd put it like that. But that also takes time. And I don't think that AEW has done anything to really thread the needle to make themselves cross over. Because remember, as I just said before, Tony Khan didn't make this point. But Eric Bischoff did force the hand of WWE when he started doing things to cross over into the mainstream and took advantage of the weakness. For Tony Khan, this is a weak point for WWE that he should be capitalizing on, but he's not. But I don't know what AEW has to do to be able to make that possible. I don't know what that's supposed to be in this time and age because we don't have that many people glued or willing to go ahead and make the investment to watch on television. I don't know if it's a social media campaign or what that's going to make that possible. But this is the time where he should be, as the challenger wrestling promotion, as he calls it, should be doing something more aggressive to build up and make WWE more competitive. Because the WWE right now is all playing on defense. And just like at a sporting event, just like in a sports contest, you know, if a team is dominant, they're going to play defense. They're going to try to prevent. But what you need to do is be more aggressive to make them be on offense. because you want WWE to go ahead and be more aggressive in what they're doing to make sure they keep their top spot. But they need to see that you're actually doing something that's going to push them, that's going to motivate them, bring out their competitive spirit, and say, okay, something's going on with our product. We need to fix the ship. Tony Khan also asked about his assessment of the ratings and audience and attendance. So, I mean, he made his comments about that. He doesn't get stats from HBO Max. Doesn't know what they are. So all he knows is the ratings that he has from TBS and TNT of Collision and Dynamite. But other than that, he has no inkling. Nothing's been reported to him about the HBO Max numbers. So he didn't want to answer that, and that's fine. But again, that also is a testament to streaming companies not wanting to give their numbers. Again, we're not getting a real gauge of viewership when it comes to what Netflix is giving us or any other networks out there, unless they are being tracked under Nielsen Big Data, which is the only other honest, trusted source of viewing data. We don't know what it really is. Netflix is proprietary. They are private. They don't need to worry about that part. They don't have to go and divulge that kind of information. They can just give the top 10 and whatever the viewer numbers are, they can just kind of give a fudge of it. They can say whatever they want. I think I've said enough. Went a little over an hour with the show, but, there was a lot on my mind, man. Stream of consciousness. It just kept rolling through. So anyway, you already got my comments about what I see coming up for Full Gear coming up this weekend. It's on Saturday, Prudential Center, Newark, New Jersey. If you had to give me a gun pick who I think is going to be winning what, I'll give predictions just one more time to make sure that you know where I'm coming from with this. Like I said, some matches I might not care about at all, but hey, whatever. It's what it is. It's fine. But I will do a post show for Full Gear here on the program. kingofpodcasts.com. Look for that. So like I said, I expect Monet to win. I expect Samoa Joe to become new world champion. FTR new tag team champions. And I expect Kyle Fletcher to beat Mark Briscoe and retain the TNT title. Those are the matches that really matter to me, and I think Darby Allin will beat Pac. Anyway, come back, enjoy Full Gear this weekend, and come back for another Wrestling is Real podcast because wrestling needs us.